All right, joining us today on Two Black Nerds 200 is another very special guest. Today, we have popular YouTuber, TikToker, writer, actor, singer, the Black Gay Comic Geek himself, Michael Simeon, is joining us today on the 200th episode of Two Black Nerds. Welcome, man. How you doing today?
How's it going? How's it going? Thanks so much for having me. Excited to be here.
Of
Or,
course.
or like no, like the color purple. I gotta do it like the color purple. I am very happy to be here.
Very happy to be here.
I love that. I love that energy. But yeah, no, we're incredibly excited to have you on to talk about the Marvel Cinematic Universe today. Before we dive into like the specific topic, because what we're doing is addressing some of the challenges that the MCU has sort of faced over the past few years. I think it's definitely it's in a bit of a lull stage. It hasn't necessarily reached the heights that I think a lot of us are accustomed to. But before we dive into the specific topic, what's just like your summation of how you feel towards the MCU? If you had to distill it down into just a few short words, like one sentence, how would you just generally describe your feelings towards the MCU right now?
Right now, or just in general?
Right now, specifically. So, like,
Okay.
just take the past, like, let's say 2 years and distill it down to how you feel right now.
I'm not overwhelmed. I'm not underwhelmed. I'm just whelmed to throw a young Justice reference out
Yeah.
there with the MCU right now. I'm just whelmed. It's like because there's some things that are like I really like Wakanda Forever. Honestly, funny enough, and this is might be a controversial statement. I like Wakanda Forever better than the first Black Panther. So
That's going somewhere. Yeah, it might
It's a
might
little
be
hot.
semi-controversial.
It
Yeah.
might be a little hot.
that's what I said. It might be a little hot take, but so there's some stuff and then also like Guardians of the Galaxy 3. I really enjoy Guardians of the Galaxy 3, Volume 3. But yeah, other stuff that's just take it or leave it.
Yeah.
And there's more leave it than take it. Like Secret Invasion was dookie water. Like,
Oh
but we'll get
boy.
into that. But yeah, so distilling that one sentence, I'm not overwhelmed, I'm not underwhelmed, I'm just whelmed.
Yeah, I
It's a good
love that
sentence.
description. And I mean,
Hmm.
Secret Invasion is largely, I think, what kind of prompted this whole idea in this conversation because we've been talking about this, Des and I, on the show regularly. Just some of the challenges, whether it be with the quality of the projects, but also at the box office, we see certain things aren't performing necessarily as well as they used to. But you still have those hits. You still have Wakanda Forever, Guardians Volume 3 that do very, very well and very good business. But Secret Invasion, I think, just had us all sort of like reset and think like, wait, what is really going on here? Like something is terribly, terribly wrong, and we got to talk about this and see like what's happening. But the specific topic we're going to get into today, as it pertains to the MCU, is the massive amount of characters that have been introduced into this franchise, particularly with phase 4 and phase 5. I know, speaking for me personally, I was incredibly excited to know that we were going to sort of start fresh after the Infinity Saga, get a bunch of new characters. Obviously, there was just so much untapped potential. But I think conversely, what we have now seen that while, yes, there have been some really great character introductions, it's also set up somewhat of a problem for Marvel because unlike what we dealt with within the first 10 years of the Infinity Saga, now because we have so many characters, it's hard to really map out and tell when we're going to see somebody again or really what their future is or how important they're going to be to this larger story. There's just so many examples when you think about some of the Eternals, like when are they going to come back or when is Shang-Chi going to get a sequel? I think there's a lot of questions about just the existence of some of these characters and how we build these relationships over the years. Michael, let's start with you. Do you think that that's actually like a very substantial challenge and problem that they're dealing with, or maybe we're blowing it out of proportion and we just have to sort of sit back and wait and see until the full story plays out? What's your perspective on that?
I mean, yes, while we're in it right now, it does feel like we don't really know where the MCU is going. And also, to be fair to them, because we are going through a writer and actor strike right now. So that is putting a delay on a lot of the projects that they have coming out where, like Shang-Chi it's now delayed and they're having to start filming or anything like that. We don't know when that's going to, because more than likely, I don't think this writer and actor strike is going to end in 2023. I think it's going to go well into the new year and probably beyond
Hmm.
that. So who knows when that's going to end up coming to a head and being settled. So that's also going to put a hindrance on what's going on with the MCU. But at the same time, though, I do feel like because they're trying to introduce so many characters and tell these new narratives and introducing all these new stories, it does kind of feel like things are taking way too long to get some type of resolution. Like even not even just in the idea of Shang-Chi 2, but like even going into that, think about the post-credit scene for Shang-Chi and the thing that they lead it to, like, oh, the rings had a signal coming from somewhere. We thought that was going to get resolved in the Eternals. No mention or reference to it at all. Then some people were like, oh, well, maybe that signal came from Kang. We got introduced to Kang and Loki. We got introduced to Kang and Ant-Man. No reference to the signal or anything like that. So it's like you had opportunities to introduce or plant these seeds to things that you introduced in other movies, but yet it's still not coming to a head or any like. So it's like I feel like certain things are just taking way too long. Even like Moon Knight, get introduced to Moon Knight. When are we going to see Moon Knight again? Like we haven't heard anything with regards to that. So like I feel like yes, we do have the writer and actor strike, and you do have to take that into account. But at the same time, I do feel like things are just taking way too long for them to have a payoff for. Like we had the whole Eternals. You got a whole Tiamat sticking out of the Indian Ocean. You just had like a small newspaper clipping of it in She-Hulk. But it's like that should play a much bigger part into the story. And they're saying, oh, well, we're going to talk about it and this is if the rumors are true. We're going to talk about it in Captain America, but it's like Captain America's not coming out till when? Next year? Like it's and how long ago was that introduced? Like it's way too long.
Yeah, it feels like that they might have bitten off a little bit more that they can chew, and that also you have to add on the Disney Plus shows to that. You mentioned Moon Knight, and just like you say, that character or Layla, she becomes a superhero at the end of that show. It's like, who knows when we're going to even see her again? Des, what I want to
like
ask
Werewolf by Night. When are we going to see these people again? Like we got Man Thing and.
It's a lot of them. It's like where are they going to come back up? Don't really know, and they also feel super disconnected, as well. Des, I want to ask you specifically about sequels because in the Infinity Saga, it was pretty clear. We knew when Iron Man 2 was coming. We knew when Thor 2 or Thor 3 was coming. Like because we were dealing with, I think, substantially less characters compared to what we have now. We always had a clear roadmap, and they've tried to give us roadmaps, sort of piecemeal year by year or every couple of years. But when you look at like Phase 6, it's like 3 movies. It's 2 Avengers movies and I think Fantastic Four. So it's like, when are these characters going to get sequels? Like Doctor Strange 3, no clue when that's going to happen. And yeah, there was like 6 years between 1 and 2, but we also saw him a lot in between. We saw him in Infinity War. We saw him in Endgame. We're not getting that same sort of character
Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah, exactly. Thor Ragnarok. We're not getting that same amount of appearances. So how do you feel about just like the fact that sequels themselves aren't happening as quickly as they used to?
Yeah, I think, that really does speak to the way I think these phases are being set up. There is no we don't have our core set of characters that I feel like the MCU feels like we need to become accustomed to anymore at this point. Right before, I think the Infinity Saga worked so well because we just had so much time to learn about Iron Man and the surrounding characters, Captain America and the surrounding characters. Now in these new phases, it's like, okay, we're introduced to somebody new. What time do we even have if we're trying to get to the next Avengers movie to have another Doctor Strange movie? You're trying to introduce somebody from the far left who we haven't learned anything about yet. When is America Chavez popping back up? There's just so many questions and not enough answers, I think, being thrown out here, because I think we all, again, agree that we just thought we would see a lot of these characters sprinkled throughout each other's projects more often. We just talked about Moon Knight. He should have showed up in something else. Again, American Chopper should have showed up in something else. All of these characters should be showing up in all these other projects, but they feel like we have to go back to these origin stories or like introduce these new characters, and we're not getting enough. We're not getting enough of the characters that we've been introduced. So it's definitely a weird mix, I think, going on here within the MCU, to where, like you said, they just put the cart before the horse. To be honest, there's too many characters and not enough time, pretty much is what is really what's happening. And so I don't think the only thing you can do for yourself is create more time, but MCU doesn't work like that, and at least not right now. They're like, nope, we're having all these movies, all of these TV shows, and they have to come out right now at this moment and on our time, instead of taking their time as they kind of feel like they did at the beginning of the Infinity Saga or Phase 1. So it's really weird, man. That's the best way I could put it, is it feels off.
Yeah, I think,
and not even just that, but like I feel like they're focusing so much on building out the world of the MCU with like the Kang stuff and all of that, that we're not, like you mentioned, we're not really focusing on these new characters that they're introducing. So, like, for example, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. It was less of an Ant-Man and well, it really wasn't a Wasp movie at all. Like, I don't even know why she was in the title, because like she barely had a role in the movie, unless you count Janet Van Dyne as the Wasp. Michelle Pfeiffer, she was more of the Wasp character than Evangeline Lilly. Evangeline Lilly was barely in the movie, but it wasn't even an Ant-Man and the Wasp movie. Like, the characters, Lewis and his other friends that were in the first two movies, they didn't even make an appearance in this movie. It was really just about introducing Kang and the greater MCU, but it should have been an Ant-Man movie, like, especially with this maybe potentially being Scott Lang's final movie in the solo movie in the Ant-Man world. Like, it, and then also, like, it just wasn't dark enough. Like, if you're gonna make it an introduction to Kang, like, it should have been more menacing. Like, it has your first movie of your big bad and he got taken out by Ant-Man. Like, come on now. Like, why am I scared of this villain now? Why am I scared of this villain? He got beat up by ants, and yet I'm supposed to be scared that the Avengers can't take him out. Like, come on. Like, so yeah, there's a lot of things that they should need to really dial down and like really focus and center themselves on where they want the MCU. You might have an idea where you want your next big event to be, with the whole Secret Invasion and Secret War, or not Secret Invasion, but Secret Wars and the whole Kang Dynasty and things like that. But you're not really getting the details right, and I think that's their biggest problem.
Yeah, I think another thing too.
They're seeing the forest instead of the individual trees.
Yeah, for sure. I think another thing too is just like the production side of things. When you greenlight so many projects, like so many films and series, the things that you just can't control, like that they face, like with COVID, the strikes, delays, whatever the case may be, that also adds to the issues at hand. Because I remember America Chavez was initially supposed to be in Spider-Man No Way Home, and she was going to be the specific character to bring in Toby and Andrew from their respective universes. But because things got shifted around and delayed or whatever the case may be, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness comes out second. She gets introduced in that instead, and then they create this fake storyline for Ned where he's all of a sudden like prone to have sorcerer powers. And it's like, well, that wasn't really the intention. And so I think also, like, just from a production standpoint, because they do have so much down the pipeline, there's problems that they're sort of creating for themselves, like unforced errors that they would not have otherwise faced if maybe they just slowed down their output. Another thing I do want to talk about too, we've been sort of circling it with like these characters in this uncertain future, sort of element, is this new method that they've employed with their post-credit scenes, and the fact that they have used so many recent post-credit scenes to introduce characters that we literally have no idea when we're ever going to see them again. I think about Star Fox and Eternals, Hercules and Thor Love and Thunder, Clea, that weird, super fucking weird post-credit scene in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Like, when are we ever going to see any of these people again? And why do they matter? Like, I admit, 10
years.
Right. And I admit, I was super excited to see Hercules. It was like, oh shit, that's like really dope. But when you really think about
don't
it,
forget
what's the point?
He wasn't on screen, but we got Blade and Eternals, the voice, and they haven't even started shooting that movie yet. Like,
that's another one. And like the Dane Whitman connection there, what is that supposed to be? Like, he gets like half-assed introduced in Eternals, but is he going to be more of a major character? But then we hear like, well, all of a sudden, like Black Knight is sort of written out of Blade. He's not even going to be a character anymore. So it's just so much stuff. It's like, it's hard to really wrap your head around it. Like, Michael, how do you feel about those random post-credit introductions of these characters where it's like, who is this like, why are they even important here? And like, we don't even have a clue how they're going to play any sort of factor into future stories that they tell.
I mean, it would be fun, and it's what we wanted if it actually amounted to something. Not to say it's not going to amount to something, because 10 years down the road, once this phase and all these phases are all said and done, and we get all the pieces to the puzzle, we can go back and watch it and be like, oh, this is cool. Like, kind of like, a lot of people hated Age of Ultron when it came out, but then all the other projects that came after, like WandaVision, et cetera, made us go back and look at Age of Ultron and be like, oh, it actually planted a lot of seeds and made it more important. So yeah, you'll have that hindsight when you get there. But as of right now, while we're in it, it just feels like I said, it just feels like a lot of things are just taking too long. They don't know what they want to do. Even like announcements, like they announced Blade in like, what was it, 2016?
Oh my Lord.
Probably.
It was so long ago.
That was 2016. And they haven't even shot the movie yet. And I honestly feel like at a certain point, Mahershala Ali is going to drop out because he's already like what 48.
He's getting up
and
there.
then what you're committed to doing, you're committed to doing 3 movies. It's going to take 10 plus years for those 3 movies to come out, not even counting all of the side cameos that they're probably going to want him to be in at a certain point, especially considering the athleticism and the martial arts and everything that Blade is going to have to do. Like eventually he's going to be too, like Mahershala Ali is going to be too old to commit to doing something like Blade. And especially once you add now the writer's strike on top of that, and they went through like 3 different directors that quit, and now we're in the writer and actor strikes, and now they definitely can't film. Like it's just gonna Blade just keeps getting pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed. So it's like, what? I don't know. I'm just like, at this point, y'all need to figure something out because eventually, as of right now, the only 2 good things I've seen coming out of Phase 5, like I said, I enjoyed Guardians. Oh no, I can't even count Black Panther because that was Phase 4. That was the last thing in Phase 4. So really, just Guardians.
Yeah,
Ant-Man was, like I said, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania was trash. Secret Invasion was trash. I was excited about the Marvels, but Nia DaCosta's comment of saying, "Oh, the Marvel Cinematic Universe has been too serious or whatever." So I wanted this movie to be wacky. That has me nervous because I'm like, all of the MCU has been wacky.
Oh, that's and nervous. Trust me, that's going to be another talking point too, just like the tone and stuff. I'm excited that it's supposedly
like they had a whole joke
minutes.
of freaking the Ant-Man creature talking about you drinking my fluids and whatever. Like all of the MCU has been wacky. Like where have you been? Like I'm sick of the wacky. I want more serious tones in terms of the MCU. And that's one thing I will say, to throw in a reference to DC really quick. As much as the DCEU has been, in shambles to the point that they're rebooting it, one thing I will say that DC has over Marvel in terms of like, and why I think at a certain point they could overtake Marvel, is that they're willing to take more risks with their properties. They're willing to go rated R with like the Suicide Squad or Peacemaker or what else? They released the rated R cut of Batman v Superman. So, and then they're also releasing like what else? Rated R. I think the Authority is going to be rated R, and like they're willing to take those risks. But like even Kevin Feige was just like, oh yeah, Blade's not going to be rated R, or like Moon Knight, who should have been a rated R character, that's not going to be rated R, or like just. So it's like I just feel like Marvel has been so used to being on top for so long that they're playing it safe for a lot of these characters and a lot of these events. Like Ant-Man should have been way darker, and it should have ended different. Like he shouldn't have gotten out of the quantum realm by the end of the movie. Like you made this whole stink about, oh, he's going to be stuck. Oh shit, where's it going to go from here? Excuse me. And then 2 seconds later, he gets out. So it's like, what was the point of that?
Yeah, and they clearly manipulated that ending. That it didn't feel like that was supposed to be the proper ending as well.
It did not feel right.
That production piece of it too. Des, I want to ask you this about these characters, because we have so many characters. I think a stark difference that we're going to see, at least in my opinion, and this is just like me projecting, but I think with the original Avengers movies and the Infinity Saga, it was clear that we had these established connections with characters like Steve Rogers and Tony Stark and Black Widow. Like we had saw them so often that you felt like you knew them. So when Endgame comes, it's like the 7th or 8th time that we've seen them. Whenever Kang Dynasty Secret Wars rolls around and we get whatever that Avengers team is going to be, whoever is a part of it, I mean, I don't know how many of those characters we would have seen all that much. Like maybe a couple of them, like Strange, probably Thor if he decides to come back. But a lot of them are probably going to be new, and we might have had one experience with them or one appearance from them in their own TV show or movie. So what I want to ask you is like, do you even think that we're going to care as much about whoever this new Avengers team is going to be when we just haven't seen them as often, because we're getting such these such huge gaps in between projects and just the uncertainty when they're going to come back around and play a factor?
My hope is that whatever the hell is going on between now and Avengers Kang Dynasty / Secret Wars, that they are actively trying to do that work to get us to get familiar with these characters. That is my hope. Unfortunately, we don't see that trend and it going in that direction. But because of that, I'm afraid. I have to be afraid for that, because we all know you just don't get Endgame without the footwork being done for these characters. And I am afraid we're going to get to Kang Dynasty and Clea pops up and everyone's going to be like, and What else is there? Who else is here? Literally, we gonna clap for Scott Lang, Thor, and Doctor Strange, and be like, all right, good job, everybody. We're doing it. You know what I'm saying? So I think another way for them to maybe potentially be successful here, to be honest, the movies just need to be good. I think, for instance, let's say Fantastic Four comes out and it's just a really good movie and we all love it. And we're like, yeah, Fantastic Four. I think seeing them in the next movie, right, in Kang Dynasty, won't be so bad. I think people will be excited about that. It won't be to the level that we think it will, but as long as that movie is good, as long as we can attach ourselves to those characters and within that movie time span, I think it'll be okay. And so that's what I mean between now and whenever that happens, we just need the projects to be good. We're not going to get Infinity Saga, and I think we've recognized that as a time thing. I think we can all wrap our head around. We're not going to get another Endgame, but if we can get good movies with good characters that we can attach ourselves to some capacity, not Steve Rogers capacity, not Tony Stark capacity, not Natasha Romanoff capacity, but just what we can get right now with these characters, have good character moments, I think we'll be okay. But we have to do that even in order for that to be successful. So that's kind of how I feel about it. I think it's scary either way, but I don't think we'll ever get what we got in that Infinity Saga, but there is potential to do something, but I'm afraid that something won't happen here.
So you're not gonna be cheering for Scar?
Even like I was just looking at some of the announcements for like phase 5 and 6. I don't see anything in there for like Shang-Chi 2, Doctor Strange 3, anything like that. But then you're giving me Echo, which I mean, sure, but like who's really checking for like, and then
Echo comes to the portal,
and then when you introduced her in Hawkeye, like what did you get from the character of Echo that made you excited about or let me ask, did you guys see anything in the Hawkeye series that made you excited about Echo getting her own show?
No, nah. It did not. I mean,
exactly.
I did that simple episode was fine in of itself, but it didn't buy me into the idea of like spending 6 hours with this character or 5 or however long it's going to be. I didn't think like, oh, I have to watch that show now and see more. That was not that was not it. You know, so I agree. I think that's definitely like a big issue.
Like if anything, I was more excited about Yelena than I was for Echo. But guess what? Yelena's not getting her own show. She's going to be the Thunderbolts, but you're specifically having this character get her own show. Obviously, you need to build hype for that. So, introduce kind of like what they did with Black Panther and Civil War. They're giving him his own movie, so you introduce him in Civil War to build the hype. But guess what? That hype was lived up to. Like, we were excited about his character after seeing him in Civil War because they built him up correctly. But, like, Echo, so what? Who cares? Like,
yeah, it's not there. So I want to ask you this as we wrap up here. 2 questions for you, Michael, specifically, since you are the guest. First, what would you do to fix the MCU if you were in the offices of Marvel Studios and you were given the keys to the kingdom and they asked you, Kevin Feige asked you, like, I need the next 5 years like mapped out, what would you do to steer the ship in the right direction and get them back on the right path?
Honestly, I would have them go back to their roots in the sense of, yes, we are building to phase. We are in these phases, and we are building to, like the Kang Dynasty, Secret Wars. We want to have these grand, epic finales of each phase. But I think considering we are getting a lot of new characters, and there are a lot of characters that the casuals don't know or never really heard of, because Iron Man was not the A-list character that we know of now when he was first introduced in 2008, but he still had like C-level status. Like, people knew who Iron Man was. They knew of the name. They just weren't checking for him like that. People knew who Captain America was. They just weren't checking for him like that. But nobody knows who the fuck Shang-Chi is. Nobody's ever heard of America Chavez, especially because America Chavez is like brand new. She was just introduced in like the last like 10 plus years in comics. So like, I feel like Marvel needs to really focus on building these characters up and building their particular worlds, as opposed to fitting them in the grand MCU and just seeing where they fit. It's like, no, have them fit in their world and then have the MCU fit around them, and then we could start to build into Secret Wars or Kang Dynasty, et cetera, et cetera. Because like you mentioned, the next time we see these characters, it's going to be probably in a Secret Invasion, or I keep wanting to say Secret Invasion, but Secret Wars or Kang Dynasty, as opposed to like, once we got to Infinity War, we already saw Captain America in Captain America 1, 2, 3, and certain cameos. And then we saw them show up in the bigger crossover. We saw them in Avengers, et cetera, et cetera. But like, when's the next time we're going to see American Child? When's the next time we're going to see Gaia? They introduced this, apparently the most powerful person in the MCU.
I hope never, if I'm being honest about it, because she's too damn powerful at this point.
Yeah, I hated that. But but at the end of the day, you introduced her.
Right.
She's a big gun. Like, so at some point, she should show up at a certain point. But where would her character even fit?
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest problem I think that's the biggest problem that they have. Like, they're introducing these characters and doing all this stuff, but it's like, but where is this going to fit? How is this going to work? And then also you're introducing all these Young Avengers characters, and they haven't even announced the Young Avengers yet.
Oh, don't get me started on that.
They're gonna be that's a whole other topic. They're gonna be grown-ups by the time all this is done.
Yeah, young who?
Old Avengers.
I don't see it, but no, you're right.
Literally, we have all of them, except for the only ones we don't have are Hulkling and then Iron Patriot, Iron Lad. Sorry, yeah, those are the only ones. But technically, we kind of do because we got Kang. And Iron Lad is just a younger version of Kang, so you could easily introduce him there. But like,
for sure.
And then Hulkling could come in like a Captain Marvel too, with the Skrulls and the Kree. But still, like, you got them all. You haven't even announced it so it's just a lot that they need to like really center and focus themselves. Because right now I feel like they're just throwing shit against the wall and just seeing what sticks, and it's not really proving itself to be like a cohesive narrative right now. So I think that would be my biggest advice, like, to just focus your narrative and also build these new characters that you're introducing.
Last question for you. What are you most looking forward to? Like, what projects, if you had to pick, film or TV, would you say is actually like got you excited? You know, it can be anything across, phase 5, phase 6, the few things.
Like I said, I was gonna say the Marvels. Like, I was excited about the Marvels.
Was excited.
I was excited. Like, especially, the fact that it's a Black woman directing it, which now she would be the first or the second Black woman to direct over $100 million budgeted movie. And she'd only be the 5th Black person, period, to direct an over $100 million budgeted movie. Even though I hated what they did with her in WandaVision at the end, but I was excited to see Monica Rambeau. I enjoyed Miss Marvel, so excited to see the three of them interact. But then, that comment about it being wacky and zany, and then also the movie's only an hour and a half, that kind of has
actually
me nervous.
Like that. If I'm being honest, I'm not mad.
That feels like it's too short for me.
I think movies are generally too long, especially these Marvel movies. If we come in with a 98, 100-minute Marvel, I'm actually
superhero
here
movie.
For it. Yeah, I'm here for it. I'm here for it because recently the longer ones they go way too, like, none of them need to be as long as they are. If you ask me, like, the only ones I would say are an exception are Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Like, I thought that like deserved the runtime, but even Wakanda Forever, if I'm being honest, I felt like that was too long. Like, there's a big chunk of that movie that I didn't really need, especially in the middle with the stuff in not Atlantis, whatever they called it at this point, whatever they changed it to, Talokan. There was a lot of that stuff. I was just like, 240, we're kind of pushing it, but I do hear you, like, the comments about the tone, the zany, the wacky. That is somewhat alarming. Like, I don't know if we should be going there. Maybe we should be going into a different direction, but we really, really appreciate you hopping on today, Michael, to talk about the MCU today with us, man. This was such a fun conversation, of course. Before we hop off and, sign off for today, let the people know, like, what you got going on. Where can they find you? Where can they follow you on social media to keep up with you?
Well, you can follow me across all the internets as Black Gay Comic Geek, because I'm Black, I'm gay, I like comics. So anywhere, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, all of that stuff. I have been a little lazy lately. I haven't posted on YouTube in like 2 weeks because, like, my free time lately has been nothing but Baldur's Gate. That's all I've been doing. Yeah. Anytime I'm like, nothing but, like, so I need to get on it because there's like a couple things I need to review, like Changeling and Gen V comes out soon. And it's funny because I got the screener for Changeling, but Baldur's Gate, I haven't even watched it. So I need to get on that. But yeah, just follow me, Black Gay Comic Geek. You get all types of commentary, of representation and nerddom and all that stuff. Hashtag, my motto is always hashtag make it black or make it gayer. So if you're into blood, sex, gore, and magic like I am, come swing over to my channel and you'll get you some good representational commentary.
Absolutely, man. Well, thank you again for hopping on today to talk about the MCU with us and celebrating our 200th episode. Hopefully we can do this again, real soon in the future for sure. But until then, man, take care.
Congratulations on 200.
Thank you. Appreciate that. We'll catch up with you soon, man.
Thank you.